What actually makes a product launch successful? Is it the product itself, the offer, the emails you send out, or the timing of those emails? Or simply just a TikTok viral hype on said product? Last month, we helped an e-commerce brand partner launch a new product, and that launch cleared over $50,000 in extra sales with just 3 emails. And here's the craziest part. It wasn't a pre-planned months in the making rollout type of launch. This was a last-minute, scrappy 3-email launch sequence that simply worked. Not because of luck, but because we knew exactly what levers to pull. So in this video, I'll be breaking down that exact launch, the formula we followed, the psychology we leaned on, and the exact emails that turned a reactive idea into $50,000 in sales and revenue. So you can copy it too. Let's get to it. So this is gonna be a $50,000 plus product launch email marketing strategy. And why did I call it a $50,000 plus product launch email marketing strategy? It goes without saying. This exact strategy, as you can see on the screen, resulted in about $50,000 plus in net sales from just one product. All right, so I said it was a 3-part email launch, and it is, but what you can see is about 4 campaigns, campaign dashboard screenshots. And the reason why you have that is because by the time we were gonna send the 3rd campaign out to the audience, we ran into some billing issues with the ESP, with the email service provider, and yeah, we had to resend again a couple times for to certain recipients that did not receive the 3rd campaign, for us to cover the whole audience eventually. So that's why we have about 5 campaign dashboards right now, but it's all just 3 launches, right? So without further ado, if you can do the numbers and just calculate this revenue, you find immediately that everything turned amounts to about 49k. I don't know if you can see this, about 50k in total. So without further ado, let's dive into the product launch success framework, what I like to call the success framework behind a product launch. All right, so before you launch a product, there are about 3 things that you need to consider that I suggest for every brand owner to consider. The PMF strength, PMF referring to product market fit. So the product market fit strength of that product, the timing and seasonality of the period, and the launch strategy. These frameworks are what will determine if your product launch will be successful or not. It comes down to these 3 frameworks, right? When I say PMF strength, what do I mean? We're talking about the real utility of the product, right? We're talking about if that product is actually worth the attention of the specific customers you're about to launch it to. And by the way, we're talking in the context of you being an already established brand, and then you want to launch a new product in your line and all of that. So it has to be a product that actually deserves attention to your specific ICP, ideal customer profile, and that's what we're talking about here. In that context, we're talking about, so it has to be a product, first of all, that has real utility to that specific audience. It has to be a product that has real emotional appeal to that specific ICP. Yeah, it has to have differentiated positioning. If it's something that it's new, it has to be new, of course. So it's either new or unique versus what's out there. And it also has to have a current audience product fit. I say audience product fit because it has to align with your current ICPs. Like I said, it has to align with your current audience right now. The audience you have in your email list have to have certain values that align with the product that you want to launch with them, or else you're just wasting your time. Now, when it comes to timing or seasonality, the question is, are you launching at the right time? Right? Imagine launching a swimwear during winter. That is so wrong, right? So things to consider: seasonal relevance. Does the launch coincide with the time people, quote unquote, your ICP are actively seeking the solution? Quarterly context: are shoppers more likely or emotionally primed to spend? That also impacts your launch. And then competitive timing: are other players launching similar things in that time, or is your message louder or smarter than theirs? Things like that will impact your product launch. And then finally, the launch strategy, right? How do you make noise, educate, and drive urgency all at once? The strategy behind all of that. So your message sequencing matters. The asset depth matters. Do you want to go as far as email, ads, creating landing page for the specific product, UGC, social bundling strategies? Do you want to go as far as that? The diversity to which the product can speak to, or to which you are willing to speak to. Are you speaking to only men or only women, or are you willing to speak to men and women? Is the product spread across through the two genders? Are you framing it via a comfort type of thing, or a particular, what framing are you really using, right? And how can you diversify the angles with which you sell it out, right? So offer engineering also matters. It also ties into your launch strategy, the tiered pricing, the perceived deal value, and scarcity. Also, you can engineer scarcity to it. And then most of all, the list you target, first buyers, return buyers, VIP buyers. In this situation though, we're not going to get into how it really matters or how it relates on the entire e-commerce funnel. We're just going to focus on email, right? There's a specific email strategy that works, and that's what I'm going to share with you in this video. So I just came up with a formula that I think works, and it actually turned out to be really great, and I hope it will help you understand how I think of this, right? So launch outcome is very heavily predicated on P times T times S squared. P referring to your product market fit strength, T referring to your timing, and S referring to the launch strategy that you're using, right? So your product strength score, timing accuracy, strategic execution, quality, these are what things I call it. So P equals 1. If in an instance where P equals 1, okay, your product market fit strength can only have two variables. It can either be a strong product or a weak product. And in two instances, so when it's a weak product, that's P equals 0. When it's a strong product, I need you to think like this: P equals 1. As for your timing also, it can also just be two variables there, right? It can be good timing, it can be bad timing. Right, there's no in the middle timing anymore. Right? We need to think in this framework, so to speak, that it can only be strong product and a weak product, a good timing and a bad timing, right? Those are the only variables that are available for P and T in this formula. The one part of the formula that is up to you, that you can tweak as much as possible to work in your favor, is the strategy, and that's why the strategy has S squared on top of it. So the launch outcome, the success, should I say the propensity of success for the launch outcome, it comes down to this formula: P times T times S squared, right? So in an instance where you've done every research right, you got your market fit right, with the product is right, and the timing is right, the one variable that's left for you to tweak to the maximum success is your strategy, right? And if you get that wrong, well, you missed the whole thing, so to speak. So I showed some case study here just to sort of like make it easier for you to understand, right? In an instance where you have a strong product and bad timing, say you have a strong product, that's P equals 1, and then you have a bad timing, you're launching say a short, like I said, a swimwear, like in this instance during winter, right? That's bad timing. Regardless of how heavy your strategy may be, you will always get bad results from that kind of launch. Why? Because you're launching a strong product at the wrong time. If you're launching a weak product at the right time, you say you have a weak product, it does not really align with your specific audience. Say you want to launch maybe you have a predominantly female audience, and you want to launch because it's an underwear type of brand, you want to launch what briefs to that audience. It would not matter if it was a good time, it would not matter if it was in summer, you're trying to launch briefs to women, everything that you do will amount to 0, right? I hope this is starting to sort of like get into your head and you're starting to understand it. So it will not matter if you have a good timing, if your product is weak, everything will flop. It will not matter if you have strong product, if your timing is bad, weak, everything will flop, right? So you need to figure out the product and a good time to launch, right? Those are things that I think you can find in other videos to guide you on how to figure that out. The fact that you even have a brand going for you right now, an e-commerce brand going for you, means you know how to do your research for things like that. So in this video, we'll be talking strictly on strategy. I put a note here saying you can't out-message a bad product or poor timing, regardless of how much strategy you apply. If your product is either bad or the timing is bad, it's not going to work. But a strong strategy amplifies good input disproportionately, meaning if you have a good product and good timing, a strong strategy can amplify whatever you have, right? So the ideal product launch sequence that worked in this instance and will work for any product launch you want to do and never fails to work is sort of like this showcase that I put here, right? You need to send out something that highlights a problem or a certain desire, depending on if your product is a problem solving product or if it's a desire fulfilling product, right? So you need to highlight. The first phase is you highlight that problem or that desire. The second phase is to give a solution to that problem or that desire, fulfill that desire. And then the third phase is to come up with a social proof to validate that solution. And then the fourth stage is for you to now start, say, engineering scarcity and urgency and adding some discounting tactics to sort of like make the whole thing more valuable, right? So with respect to this flow sequence, you can see I put some notes here of how these stages can actually translate to in terms of like email campaign angles, right? So a problem desire phase can have an email go out with a pain desire highlights. That typically, if you're very familiar with emails, that typically is a PAS email, or I can't think of any other framework but PAS right now, a problem agitation solution email that actually highlights a problem, agitates it, and you get a PAS email. Works very well here. A product solution hype also, it's my examples are mostly PAS specific. I don't know why. An early access landing page sign in with the PAS email also usually works, right? Anything having to do with hype, or just talking about the products, or just talking about the desire, or just talking about the desire or the pain behind that problem that you are trying to like, sort of like sort out, that works in terms of like problem and desire. Concerning the solution phase, anything having to do with introducing the product, featuring and highlighting certain benefits and features in the products, using comparison of tables or charts with of the product versus competitors and stuff like that. That works in talking or highlighting the product as a solution. Those are angles that work as solution emails, right? And then for social proof translates to a customer testimonial showcase email, a UGC content showcase email, a before after showcase email, a science backed data showcase email, a credible product mention email. In case you don't know what these are, I think I have a video up going through campaign angles. You can go there and watch that. And then for the urgency part of the sequence, the emails that typically work here are FOMO infused copy type of emails, bundle discounts, engineered product scarcity, oh, your discount's about to expire, discount expiration, those things like that. Those are strategies that work. And then these specific strategies I just mentioned or angles, they don't necessarily have to be an email. For some of them, they can be a single email. For others, they have to be sections within an email that marry each other. So I just sort of like broke it down for you so that you know certain sections and strategies and what those sections in those emails are actually trying to do, right? Now, getting into the real strategy of this campaign flow breakdown. Before I get into various ways that this can present itself and various ways that you can leverage it, I'm going to get into the specific emails we sent out for this specific brand. So it was 3 emails It could have been 5, it could have been 7, it could have go as much as we wanted it to be, but it was an impromptu launch. We had to get something going ASAP. So we had to work with 3, and I'll break down every section in this email and why they work so perfectly. We already know that these emails went out at the perfect time. The product itself was a very, very strong product for the particular audience that we are promoting it to. Just to give you context, this is an underwear based brand. They sell underwear to men, and then we're launching, to show you the product market fit, we were launching what is the word forgotten. We're launching swimming trunks, right? We're launching swimming trunks to the audience at a time where there'll be a ton of swimming, right? So product market fit first, swimming trunk to an audience that already buys, that's already comfortable with buying underwear. And then secondly, the timing during summer, right? It was just June we launched this, right? So you can see here the first email, we have a past email plus the product launch. So we had to dive straight into the product launch itself. The problem with most swim trunks, blah 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 blah, they weren't made with you in mind. And then this copy just goes over the problem itself. Let's be blunt, most swim trunks, shooting down on most swim trunks. If you're over 40, it gets worse, no support, blah blah blah. So we're agitating the problem, just damp mesh, blah blah blah. Does this sound familiar? Blah blah blah. It's no wonder so many guys, blah blah. So we agitated the pain very well, and then sweetly and very smoothly, if I would say, we introduced the product itself. I'm not going to show the product because we don't have that. I don't know, I just don't want to show the product. Introducing the product. So we launched the product itself, choose comfort, and then we also put a product versus others showcase here, and you can already see this summer, do your thighs a favor, blah 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 blah, and then we added with a CTA. This email turned out to be the first email that completely crushed about 25k in revenue. And just so you know, there was a hype that went out before this email, not necessarily in conjunction with these specific swim trucks, because our campaigns for brand partners have always been kind of campaigns that are educational in nature, sort of like, should I say, agitate a pain and stuff like that. So it's not just discounting strategy. So I think, in my opinion, this particular audience have been very, very prepped, very engaged with the brand. So it just made sense for them to like see this, fully trust the brand, and just dive into buying whatever we had to give. So as you can see, that turned out to be great. And then for the second email, this went out, I think, a few days, maybe 3 or 5 days after. In this email, we went to the product benefits and features. So in this particular phase, we wanted to implement a solution plus sort of like features and benefits, right? You can see us sort of like concatenating some sections within this product launch sequence. So there isn't like a one size fits all for this strategy. There isn't a one size fits all. You can concatenate sections depending on the timing or the allowance that you have, or the what you want to go with it. You can be flexible with this strategy as much as you can. Turn the strategy itself can morph into whatever you want it to morph into, but this is like the these are the things that you should know for it to be effective, right? So product benefits and features. You'd never wear netting in your underwear, and then we went on highlighting the problems of wearing netting in your underwear, saying that they deserve it, and then we highlight some specific features of that same product again, features that stand out strongly, right? You notice also from the design of this email that we weren't too much on the aesthetic of the design of the emails, because there wasn't enough time for us to do that. So we just dove straight into highlighting the specific words, because after all, it's the words that make people buy, it's the words that resonate, right? So you can see us here highlighting the specific features, and it turned out to be great. I'm not gonna show you again how much that email performed. And then finally we ended with social proof, right? We're still going to send out more campaigns promoting this product, but these were the ones we sent out. Just 3, and it turned out to be 50k plus in sales from the email channel, not from ads, not from social, but from the email audience, right? You can see us with just simple AI generated image with the product in use. The reviews are already in. Turns out these trunks really are that good. We talk all day about how these trunks fix everything, but we'd rather let real guys tell you instead. And then we showcased real reviews from customers that have tested the product before we launched it for the brand, and you can see we just sort of like stack those reviews together. Now of course, blah 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 blah, and a CTA button. Simple as that. As simple as that, it turned out to be $50,000. You need to understand how crazy simple this is. It turned out to be $50,000 in sales. There's no lie to that. Now concerning the variables, there are other ways that it could go, right? There are variations to it. I said variables. There are variations to it. There are so many ways that you could go with this. You could extend it to be as long as 7. How many is this? 8 emails. You could also make it, you could launch a product with 3 emails. You could launch a product with 8 emails. It depends on how crazy you want to go with it. That's basically what I'm saying, right? So in this first instance, you can see here you have an email that goes out agitating a particular problem. Pass. That in this case would be an email that just sort of like agitates this, right? And then sort of like just leaves it there. No CTA whatsoever, or there's a CTA that directs them. There will be a CTA that directs them to a landing page if you want to go deep with that. But sending out an email as an hype initially, a past email that highlights that problem, is, should I say, goes a long way. And there's so many ways you could do it. You could highlight the problem, say everything, agitate everything, finish, and then say introducing, and then blur the product itself and say it's coming soon, right? That works also. So you should I say, it's endless. The things you can do to launch a product is endless at this point. So a past email, a product hype email, after that past email, and a product launch email on the 3rd email, right? You can delay the product launch itself to the 3rd email, then highlight product benefits and features on the 4th email, highlight social proof on the 5th email, and then highlight urgency on the 6th email. You can do it as that. That's like a 6-part launch. You can go ahead and do it. Say you don't want to go as far as 6, you just want to do a 5-part launch. You can do a past email plus product launch in the 1st email, a past email plus us versus them in the 2nd email, a product benefits plus social proof email in the 3rd email. Bundle offer recommendations works also. You can just start to recommend the product, bundling up with other products that are already established, and then driving audience, right? You can do it like I did it here if you don't have that much time. Pass email, product launch, product benefits and features, social proof. Simple as that. You can go crazier even with it. A pass email, a product hype plus early access signing that directs them to a landing page, a product launch plus benefits showcase, a bundling offer recommendations email, a social proof email, an urgency email, an out of stock email, a restocked email. It goes on. It can go as crazy as you want it to go, but it comes down to this main idea for every product launch. This is the core of what made this product launch work. A problem, a desire has been highlighted. That puts the customer in their emotional state, primes them to buy. About 70 to 80% of your customers will easily fall for this strategy. About 50%, I don't think up to 70, maybe about 50% of whoever reads your problem, desire, agitation email will be primed if that email is well written and actually resonates with them. By the time you post out a solution email, by the time you send out a solution email, they'll be well primed, say they haven't forgotten, and they haven't sort of like the buying intent or the timing between problem and solution wasn't too long for the buying intent to die. They will dive right into your solution, and then in your solution email, this is where you showcase your product as the solution, either to their pain or to fulfill their desire. And then the third phase is to show social proof, right? You need to show social proof that your product works, right? This is where you do that. And then urgency is where you start using different tactics like FOMO infused copy, suggesting bundling the product itself with other emails, because at this point where buying intent is already low, and you are dealing with people that are, should I say, penny pinchers, or they judge based off of their logic in their heads before they buy. Mostly they're logic based buyers, so you need to find much more UVPs to add to it and stuff like that, right? So I hope this actually makes sense to you. This is the core of a product launch that works in terms of strategy, but like I said earlier, it still relies heavily on the product and the timing of the launch. If you launch a bad product during a good time, it will flop. If you launch a good product at a bad time, it will flop. If you launch a bad product at a bad time, it will flop. It will not matter how deep your assets are or how strong your strategy is, everything will flop, right? But get your product right, get your timing right, and use this strategy. Don't even think too much about the strategy. Just come into this video, go through the video itself again, get yourself familiar with what I'm sort of like explaining here, and literally just pick out sections here from these ideas and just launch emails, right? Even if you just launch 3 emails like this is a case study, the magic can happen. So I hope this helps someone out there. Thank you for watching this video. If you like the insight I shared with you right now, click the like button and subscribe. If not, we'll get there one day.